thought will come about. It'll just fly right into my hands. And Jillian said, here are a couple thoughts we had discussed. Why don't we share some of those? So I thought, okay, I will. But I had also been listening to people. Don't we always, watch, listen, be observation ourselves, be reception. And I'd been in that noticing things. Oh, I see so many names I'm recognizing. Zadie Harris. Rhonda Fennick says, thank you. Yes, I am smiling. Beautiful, beautiful. It's so nice to see everyone here. Really, really, really. Alma Matamoros from Miami. Oh, thank you. Hello to Jillian and to me. So, here are some of the things that danced before my eyes seemingly randomly. I always say seemingly randomly because when something we go, oh, that's so random, that's just because we don't really recognize necessarily the intelligence of the organization of it. You see my finger in front of the screen. I'm scrolling down looking at names. Okay. And one was, how can I say this? I'm not really a TikTok or Reels follower. Every once in a while, you open up Instagram or somewhere and something appears. And what appeared that got my attention, oddly enough, is a very attractive, present, well presented, dressed, organized. Clearly, effort was put into making a good presentation. Woman appeared, and underneath her, what it said was, become known as a spiritual influencer. Now, we might like that. Yeah, that'd be nice to be known as a spiritual influencer. But what is the I? Who is the I that wants to be known as a spiritual influencer? What's the key that is appealing to? The part of us that wants recognition. Now, I'm talking from this point as because with all the times that I present, of all the times, there were so many times where people would come up to me afterwards, and they still will and do, and they'll say, I want to do what you're doing. And I would say, what's that? I said, I want to speak. Okay, I want to speak, I want to teach, I want to present. I said, wonderful. What do you want to teach? What do you want to talk about? What do you want to speak on? They said, oh, I don't know, anything. I can speak on anything. I said, but you see, that's not really where you want your focus to be on. Svalbard 333 just wrote, our highest form of influences is being. Being present, peaceful, and free. Yeah. And giving. Contribution. We receive through giving. It's a front and back of a coin. You can't put one side of a coin in your pocket without the rest of it. You just can't. So I want to teach. What do you want to teach on? I want to speak. What do you want to speak on? I don't know. I can speak on anything. And I said, then you're probably not going to make that splash that you're looking for in teaching, in speaking, in presenting. If your purpose is to make the splash. If you want to talk, but you don't have something that's driving you, that's compelling you to share. You could look at it as your purpose, your mission. What is inspiring you? Sometimes it may be enough to look at what is inspiring us, because it's only then that we rise above the ego that's looking for the accolades of being in front of people. Because the result of what comes to us then is no longer primary. I'm going to paraphrase Solomon from the book Solomon Speaks on Reconnecting Your Life. Paraphrasing only because I don't know that I have the exact quote in my head, but I'm pretty darn close to it. Allow this to be about what comes through you, not to you. Allow reconnective healing, for an example, if you're a reconnective healing practitioner, to be about what comes through you, not to you. If you're wanting to speak and present, allow it to be about what comes through you, not to you. If the excitement is about becoming a spiritual influencer, that is appealing to what comes to you. But what is it that you have to bring through you? I think this is a very important concept. That messaging is is holding up a mirror for us. That messaging of become a spiritual influencer wouldn't be out there if that wasn't the direction people were looking in today, what comes to us instead of what comes through us. So moving into this new year, I'm sure we all are looking at ourselves, examining ourselves. Hopefully we're not creating a whole bunch of New Year's resolutions that sound so great and we hope we can do them, not setting ourselves up to create resolutions and then not necessarily carry them through, because we set sometimes our goals, our standards up high, and there's nothing wrong with high standards and goals. But sometimes we say, this is what I'm going to do, and then inside there's a part of us saying, I know I'm not really, but I'm going to try. Okay. Maybe it's about allowing our presence or awareness to be on that direction of recognizing value and saying, it's not success or failure. We may set a goal for ourselves. We might not achieve that goal in a moment, in a given moment, and then we get to say, okay, coming back, I forgot, I overlooked it, I became distracted, and now I'm reminded of of my values. Really, it's an opportunity to observe our values, to observe ourselves, to observe who, where, what we are, and say, okay, this was my intention. Let me go back and look at that again, or what flows. And here's the thing with intention. Intentions require effort. So you may as well know right now that anything that requires effort does not last. It requires work and reinforcement. And that's all right. And it's not a failure if we don't maintain that. There's a flow. Come back to it. It's a reminder. Come back to it. It's a reminder. What we mentioned last week was that true happiness is the absence of the search for happiness. I'll be happy if I'm a speaker. I'll be happy if I'm an influencer. I'll be happy if this, that, and the other. And all of those take effort. What does not take effort? Being. My beingness is my happiness. And in that I get to experience all sorts of flavors of being, including of doing. You know, all right, I want to be a spiritual influencer. There's importance to a healthy ego. But when the ego drives, that's when we have to look at it again and say, all right, the ego is a teacher. But what a teacher is something that shines a light. Now, what do we allow ourselves to see in that light? We used the analogy last time that when you're pointing to the moon, you don't look at the fingertip, you look at the moon. What is our ego allowing us to see? Words are light, words are truth, words can never be the truth, words evoke truth. So, some things that Jillian and I talked about from a connecting meditation that we taught at one of our retreats were 3 words. 3 words in this meditation were connect, receive, and recognize. Connection is presence. Really pure and simple, it's presence. And if we really allow ourselves to sit with that, we realize that we're not actually connecting. So how is that? I can take my 2 hands and connect them by linking my fingers. But there's still 2, right? I can place a key into a door lock, and they've connected and disconnected and connected and disconnected, or taken a link in a chain or a bracelet, connect, disconnect. But you see, to connect, you have to have 2 or more. To connect, you have to be 2 or more. And once we allow ourselves to recognize this, that we are all one with everyone and everything. Well, if you're one, there is no other with which to connect. Therefore, in that recognition, you can never be disconnected. The concept of disconnection is really simply not recognizing the oneness, the unity, the love, the beingness that we are. So, play with the idea. Let's play with the idea for a moment of connection as simply being presence. Just breathe with that for about a minute here. Just breathe with that thought. Now, in allowing ourselves to just breathe on that, in that thought, you might think of it as meditating on that thought, just being awareness with that concept of connection equals presence. In there we receive. We're receiving. Well, what is receivership? Receivership is power. Not power over someone or something. So many words get such bad raps, you know? Power gets a concept of being a male thing or being a dominance thing. No. No, power is like, may the force be with you. Power, presence, life force, not being frail or weak, but presence. Connection is presence. Receivership is in that presence. Healing is receiving. Being is receiving. Receivership is not in one direction. It's who and what we are. But really, what's the key to the whole thing? Recognition. So there's connection, there's receivership, there's recognition. It is only once we recognize ourselves, we reveal ourselves to ourselves. It is that recognition that allows us to progress. It is in that receivership that is the power of being, of progression. And it's healing. What really is healing? We're looking so hard trying to become healers. That's part of why a lot of courses can have so many levels and layers and extensions and steps to become a healer. And really, ultimately, the key is that you can't become what you already are. You're simply learning to recognize yourself, and that's a beingness. And it only happens when we let go of the doing, but letting go of the doing sometimes can only come about when we've satiated ourselves. We've done so much doing and doing and doing and doing and doing and doing, and in a moment, just one moment somewhere, we get so bored with doing that our focus and attention on it leaves. We've forgotten to do the steps. And in that, what was ultimately revealed to us is that all along we've been the healer. So in those paths of complications and steps that we've been taking, we've actually been moving further and further away because we've been doing. And yet in that doing, we've given ourselves what we've needed. We've made it just impossible to do any more. And in that, our beingness shows us who we are. Svalbard 333 says, we give through receiving. In so many ways we give through receiving, because the entire mechanism of the universe, at least the way we understand it, at least the way that we exist in it, is based on give and receive. Even breathing in oxygen and breathing out carbon dioxide. The plants need us to breathe in that oxygen so we can exhale the carbon dioxide, because they need to take in the carbon dioxide so they can exhale the oxygen. How wonderful it feels when someone appreciates something we give them. Don't we feel great? Oh, I've contributed. So let me play with that one from another angle. You know, sometimes we receive a gift and we feel guilty about it. We feel guilty about it. You know, oh, we say, oh, you shouldn't have, or, you know, that was so expensive, or did I get you the right thing in return? Or we feel that we should be getting a gift because it's a certain event, we're getting married, or it's a birthday, or some other celebration. This year for Christmas, my brother and sister-in-law got me this huge it's a huge, just a deep dish paella pan something that has even heat distribution, and it's thick, and it knows what to do and where to go. And Jillian and I love popcorn, and you know, this is so perfect. You can put in a little ghee or a little oil and drop in the popcorn kernels. You don't have to move it, touch it. It cooks to perfection. Nothing burns. I was so happy. Now, let me see if this can make sense. I was so excited with a deep dish pan, you know, that I didn't even feel a twinge of guilt about receiving it. I was so happy that I could see that my smile was all the thanks that my brother and sister-in-law really wanted. I couldn't have given or shown any more appreciation than my excitement for it, and their excitement for it was so wonderful that they knew that I would love it, because it was very hard to find a simple gift, but it was very hard to find this particular one, that they gave it to me way before Christmas because they couldn't wait any longer. I mean, all there was in there was receivership, which is what allows for the giving. You can't give without receiving. You can't receive without giving. It's the same thing with healing. It's the same thing with healing. And in that recognition, in that beingness, that's how you become a spiritual influencer. But you don't become a spiritual influencer because you're looking to. You find that you've always been a spiritual influencer. And the only thing that has inhibited that was our not seeing ourselves. See yourself. Recognize who you are. The I am. Recognize that you are always connection, so you can never be disconnected. Recognize that if you're looking to facilitate a healing, you stand in presence and receive. We let go of the attempt to send healing. Breathe with that for a moment. Just breathe. Simply breathe. I love the way Svalbard phrased this: living what inspires you is spiritual influencing. Living what inspires us is spiritual influencing. Living what inspires us is receiving, but it's spiritual influencing because it gives, it contributes to others. But it's not about doing. You can't really talk about or explain, teach how to be a healer, because you can't teach how to be what you already are. So we spend words and times and methods and objects and rituals, and techniques, steps. The problem with teaching healing is that it's just too simple. For people who want a career teaching healing, it's too simple and it's too quick. It's too quick because there's no time. You walk in a healer, you walk out a healer. You simply walk out in recognition that you've walked in originally as a healer and you already are that. It's too simple. We can talk about it and 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 talk about it some more. And yet it's simply the recognition of who we are. That's the recognition of the beingness. So we come and we share. And here we often share a lot of different concepts. We can look at thoughts. We can play with, like, what is the role of instinct in our lives? But we can rephrase that. What's the role of knowingness in our lives? What's the role of intuition? Okay? Describe your relationship with intuition. But you see, what happens is the more we play with intuition, the more our thoughts and our egos and our judgment and our assessment leaves, or instinct. It clouds our instinct. Come back to instinct. It is our knowingness. Okay. This doesn't always work, but I'm going to see if I can accept the request to chat in our box. Oh, here comes someone. Hello? I hear you. And I see your window open. Hello? Hello, hello. All right, well, they were there and now they're not. So, Svalbard says so easily, so beautifully, our being does not become peaceful through effort, practice, or discipline. Our being does not become peaceful through effort, through practice, or through discipline. It is simply no longer veiled by what's in our experience, and as such, it stands revealed as it essentially is. Our being doesn't become peaceful because it is peace. So it can't become peaceful through effort or practice or discipline, because that is the work, which is not the peace. That is the doing, which is the opposite of being. So we can go through effort and practices and certain kinds of yogas and meditations and rituals and do things for again and again and again for 45 minutes a day, 3 times a day for 3 months or whatever. All that might happen through that is reaching a point of possibly exhaustion or boredom, but for whatever reason, of release of what has been veiling who and what we are. We stand revealed as the peace of that beingness. So in Svalbard's words here, our being does not become peaceful through effort, practice, or discipline. It is simply no longer veiled by the content of experience. And as such, it stands revealed as it essentially is, as you essentially are. Peace, being, as you essentially are. Very important. Aha. Svalbard is saying that is a quote from Rupert Spira. Beautiful. Beautiful. And this describes Svalbard's understanding of the core of reconnective healing. And you know, Svalbard, it really is. It really is the core of reconnective healing. It's the core of healing itself, because it's the core of beingness, which is the recognition of oneness. This is why what's really being reconnected, once you experience in the seminars and the learnings of reconnective healing, What's being reconnected is everyone and everything, the entirety of healing. It's allowing for the dissolving of what divides healing techniques, this technique, that one, the other, the other. It's allowing for the dissolution, the dissolving of technique. And when all those little techniques, those little containers, those separations, those divisions, those fragmentations of healing, when what keeps them separate dissolves, all of healing comes together. And guess what? That's who and what you are. You are healing itself. This is what's so beautiful. This is why Jillian and I love to attend a lot of the reconnective healing, or some of the reconnective healing trainings that are going on around the world. And if you go to reconnectiveacademy.com, you can find which seminars and training programs might be near you. We were just recently in a beautiful one in Budapest, Hungary. I know there's something coming up here in the United States in San Diego in February. And there are others in Europe and new ones. There are some posted right now, I believe, up through February, and new ones will start to be posted within the next few weeks. Sitting in presence. This is part of why so many people take the reconnective healing training programs 2 or 3 times, is because sitting and being in that presence is its own vacation and rejuvenation, its own oneness. It's a revealing of the glimpse of the infinite being that you are. This is healing. If we take everything that we've learned in healing, everything that we've learned to do, and throw it away, and I mean everything, you'll only be left with what is essential. Now look at that word essential. It's of your essence. But what if you throw that part away? You can't. Your essence cannot be discarded. So everything that you can possibly discard, no matter how important we were told that it might be, if we throw it away, it actually reveals our essence to us. I'm going to offer you a challenge for the new year. Risk it. It's a challenge. The worst thing that could happen is nothing. So risk it, because the most that could happen is everything. For those of you who consider yourselves healers, and for those of you who would like to be healers but are in fear, that's an illusion too, but that you don't know how, I'm going to suggest you let go of everything you've ever been told you should do during a healing session and simply be in presence and observe your mind. If it's going on, you're not doing enough, you're not doing anything, say, okay, but this is my one opportunity to risk everything. I can always come back and do something in another healing session, in an hour, in a week, in a month. Or I can say, what's going to happen if I'm simply present, and every time something comes to my mind to do, I don't do it? Because healing is not in the mind. Healing is not a cerebral concept. So even if your mind starts to whisper to you, move your hands higher, say, no, that's my mind, I'm not going to do it. Touch the person, no, that's my mind, I'm not going to do it. Move in a clockwise direction or counterclockwise, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do anything. Wear healing colors, no, I'm not going to do it. Do the opposite, or do nothing. Not going to do it. Free yourself and allow healing to stand or fall on its own, because this is you allowing yourself to recognize presence, being who and what you are on your own, and you'll find there's nothing to add because you are infinite. As a healing facilitator, a healing recipient, your infinite being is everything, and you are infinite being. So thank you for being. And thank you for being infinite. We will see a lot of you again. We look forward to it next Wednesday, same time, 9:45 a.m. Chicago time, Central Time in the US, 7:45 a.m. West Coast time, California time. And let's see, 10:45 a.m. Los Angeles, New York time. Okay, so it's at now I'm blanking. So it's at 9:45 a.m. Chicago time, 10:45 a.m. New York time, and 7:45 a.m. Los Angeles time. And we're going to see a whole lot of you in approximately 27 minutes for Solomon Speaks on Reconnecting Your Life. Thank you for your presence, your infinite being. Love to everyone.